So, the question is, do black women really like, and I put like in quotes, pro-black, and I put pro-black in quotes, men? Do black women really like pro-black men? Let me tell y'all a story. The other day I was talking to my mom, and she was telling me about this guy that cuts hair at the place where she does hair. And she talked about how she really liked this guy. Now, my mom don't, often tell me about no guy she really liked. Like, she said he got a vibe, and, she liked the energy he gave off. But there was some problems with this man. Her two biggest problems with him is that, one, he does not believe in God. And my mom is a devout Christian. And for her, this is something that, she can still like a person, but she couldn't see herself really dealing with him on that level because he don't believe in God. Two, he has a very strong stance against the caves. Now, of course, she didn't say the caves, she said white people, right? Now, as my mom is telling me this, and I'm going back and forth with her about this because, it's something that perplexes me, that black people really don't like so-called pro-blackness, and damn sure don't like if you do not believe in God. Now here, I'm in the South. I was raised in the South. This is the Bible Belt. It's Christians, falling out of trees out this motherfucker. Like, Christians everywhere, right? And as I'm sitting here talking to my mom, and I asked her, I say, well, why do you need him to believe in a God? Me, I don't want a woman that believes in God at all. I don't want that. And my mom said, well, that's actually one of the things that reminds me of him. He puts me in the mind of you when he says he don't want a woman that's believing in God. I said, now what type of man would want a woman that no matter what he does for her, no matter how he bends over backwards for her, no matter what he does, how hard he works, that she gonna thank God? Not him. He doesn't get any reverence. He doesn't get any consideration. Is, well, thank God. God putting food on my table and paying these bills. Like, no. Actually, that's not God. That's Jonathan. I mean, I'm using Jonathan as a, random name, but that's Robert. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want a woman sitting around thanking God. And she goes into the equally yoked speech. Our church folk love the equally yoked thing, right? She says, well, he is an atheist. She said a long time ago, back in the day, he went to prison and he became some type of Muslim. And then once he got out, he got rid of that too. So he went from Christian to Muslim to nothing, right? This is the path he was on. And now he's not religious at all. And that's something that she does not like in him, does not like about him. I'm like, Ma, that's ridiculous. And then she says, well, he also has this hatred, it seems, towards white folk. He calls them all types of names and stuff like this. I said, well, is he walking up to them, calling them their name in their face? Or she was like, no, but when he talking about them, he be calling them names, and I don't like that. I don't think that he should have that type of hatred in his heart. I don't think black people should have that type of hatred in their heart. I said, Mom, you've broken hatred down to name calling. If all white folk, the caves, that ever did to us was call us names, racism wouldn't be as big of a deal as it is. It's beyond name calling. You can't deem hatred. Now, if he was walking up, like killing them, you know what I'm saying? Black people have hatred. I told my mom, I said, this is exactly where the black man, this is where we failed. Because our women are cave Jesus loving, turn the other cheek, love everybody as women. And I feel like we led them to be this way. And she says, well, I wouldn't replace God for anything. You know, essentially like, oh, I don't have a problem living like this. There's nothing wrong with me living like this. And I wouldn't want a man that don't believe in God, just like you wouldn't want a woman who isn't pro-black. And I said, that's fair. You can have your preferences, but to completely write off a man because he don't believe in God, he's a successful man. Clearly he doesn't need God to wake him up in the morning. He's waking up every morning. So what is the need for this worship for y'all to both be on y'all's knees? Why do you need him down on his knees with you? Why do you need that? Why is that a requirement? She says, well, it's important to me. But she just keeps repeating it's important to her. She doesn't really tell me why. Why do you need your man in a subservient position on his knees to a said God? And this is a question that I won't get answered out here. I've asked this question not only to just my mom, I've asked other women who are religious and want a man that's so-called God-fearing. And then when you've been programmed that God is the caves and the cave is God, then that means you want somebody that's cave-fearing, really. But of course, they're not going to acknowledge that's what they're actually saying. They'll just say, well, no, it's just about God. He's somebody that fears God. And, what purpose does that fear serve? We don't know. The jury's still out on what purpose this fear serves. Because if that fear of God is all he has to make him into a decent person, to keep him from, raping a woman or whatever the fuck, which, rape isn't outlawed in the Bible, but whatever it is, for murdering a random person or whatever it is, if they need that, there's something wrong with it. In my opinion, right? But she don't want him to have that type of hatred in his heart for the caves. She wants him to love them as God loves or teaches us. Jesus Christ, teaches people to love. And that's so sad to me. It's so very sad to me that it seems as though, based on the women I've talked to, and not just my mom. My mom is just the latest person I've had this conversation with. I've talked to other women in my lifetime since I've been on this path for about 8 or 9 years now. And when you start telling them how you feel about religion, how you feel about God, especially some of them will be open to you having some concept of a God, somebody you're subservient to, even if it's not the Christian God, some God that you're subservient to, some God that you are going to serve and worship in whatever ways. Some of them will be open to that. But no God causes an issue. Big issue for black women in the South, right? And it seems like as far as they want your pro-blackness to go is for you to not to want to lay with white bitches. Because you'll have, black women that have these issues with these cave hoes, and they don't really like cave bitches like that. And then they will be subservient completely to the cave man, which I tie back to that religion. But the cave hoes, they don't really fuck with them like that. Mm-hmm. So they want your pro-blackness to begin and end with a disdain or repulsion with the cave hoe. And that's enough pro-black for them. That's really all they need, right? Because if you're militant and you express your disdain for them, then a black woman will write you off. My mama wrote this man off. Now my mama is doing now, she's into psychiatry. That's what she went and got her degree for it. She's doing counseling and things like that. And she talks to me about some of her cases, the group therapy and things that she's doing these days. I said, well, Ma, don't you think it's odd that instead of talking to this man and figuring out why he feels the way he feels, which I bet he has just cause to feel the way he feels about the caves, don't you think it's interesting that you won't talk to him about it? You have no interest in talking to him about it at all? In any type of way? whatsoever. Isn't that interesting? That you don't want to talk to him, even though now you're in a psychology field and you're talking to a bunch of random strangers about their problems and trying to get to the bottom of their issues. Here's a man that you like, and you won't even talk to him about why he feels the way he feels about the caves. Because I done told y'all, my mama think I'm crazy. She thinks something wrong with me. You know what I'm saying? She thinks I'm racist or whatever, right? And, a lot of black, not just, I can't say just women, black folk don't understand when you're not cave worshiping, when you're not cave loving. They don't understand you. They think something wrong with you. Would one of them spit on you this morning? Like, what's wrong with you? Because they're able to detach themselves from history and create a narrative that everything's okay. Racism is gone. You have a few bad apples. We've talked about this here. It'll be a running theme here. We'll talk about this often because this is a problem that black people have, right? Did one of them spit on you this morning? Call you a nigger when you was like, why are you mad today? And if that happened on Monday, by Tuesday, you should be all right anyway. That was just a one-time thing. They don't all act like that. And I've had women that will tell me many, many times, and still do it to this day. They'll talk about how sexy I am, how fine I am, and all this shit. But, the way you talk about white folk, it's just, I don't really like all of that. I don't want you to be like that all out in the streets. And to those women, I say, well, go get you a coon. Like, you looking for a coon, they're not hard to find out here in the streets. But what black women, when I'm wanting these, they want good black men. But you're not going to be a militant pro-black man, and you're not going to not be worshiping Cave Jesus or Cave God. They don't want you in that state. Even if you are still a good man, they don't want these two attributes to be associated with you, or you to be associated with them. Because they're going to want you to cower. They're going to want you to cower in public. They're going to want you to lower your voice. Because to them, it's an embarrassment. My mama said, I don't want to deal with nobody with that much hate in their heart. So you want somebody that's oblivious. I said, well, Mama, how do you know it's hate? Did you ask them? She said, no, it just sounds hateful. I'm like, you can't talk, ain't nobody talking to nobody. We just make these broad assumptions because of the coon within us. That's what we do. And it can be made, the claim can be made that, no, Rob, black women do want pro-black men. No, they don't. I'm not going to let black women sit here and tell me that they just want, by and large, that they want pro-black men. No. No way. I won't hear it. I won't acknowledge it. I will not be believing this shit because I've existed in this reality and I know how black women think about pro-blackness. It's inconvenient. It's inconvenient. And there's a good chance if you're dealing with a man who is in that mindset, he's going to challenge you to also be in that mindset. And my mom said she believed any woman that would allow him to come influence their mindset, that's a weak woman. That's a weak woman. Any black woman who would meet a black man, get some knowledge from him, understand where he's coming from, and maybe, develop this courage and bravery as it pertains to the caves. Oh, she weak to allow him to influence her like that. I said, now how you look at her as weak, but her being on her knees, thanking and begging a cave Jesus, that's not weak. Crickets, of course, right? You're gonna get crickets in this situation. That ain't weak. I ain't never seen him, don't know where he at, he ain't did shit. That's not weak, but a woman who would take direction from a man, come up out the caves, kill that coon within them. If a man can influence them to do that, she is weak. She would probably be one of the ones that they out here calling pick-me's these days. She weak. And I told my mom, I said, good. I don't even see how people do it. I don't see how people do it. How do we sit out here and we're on an active hunt for coons? Whether y'all want to deal with it or not, whether y'all want to believe it or not, I know full well that black people, by and large, are on a hunt for coons. The only level of pro-blackness that a black woman typically is going to be open to is that a black man has disdain for the cave hoe. And that's just in a sexual capacity. To be unattracted to her. The history of her, they don't really care that he acknowledges that. They're not really worried about that. They just want him to, not want to fuck her. Based on her being a cave. But the history, no. Doesn't matter about the history. Because if you do the history, you'll have a disdain. Well, my mama said that woman is weak. And it puts me in a position where I'm like, well, are you trying to say that I'm looking for a weak woman? Like that's what I would be wanting in my life, is a woman that's weak? She said, well, yeah. You looking for a weak black woman? And I said, okay. Then that's what I'm doing then. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can call it whatever you want. Y'all can call them pick-me's. Y'all can call these women whatever you want. Don't matter to me, one way or another. But there is no way in hell that I want to sit here and deal with somebody who's not only a coon, because I can respect the woman that can recognize the coon shit she be on and want to do better. I respect that. But not only a coon, but confident in that coonness. Confident in that coondom, and don't want to ever leave, don't want to be challenged to leave it, don't want to be challenged to have a new perception on life, and then wanting somebody to be God-fearing, wanting somebody to go to church with them. Nah. And if I gotta take a L for being this way, then the L I will take. I've been taking this L. It don't matter to me one way or another. That's the L, that's the hill I'm willing to die on. Sure will. And don't got no issue with it. Don't care how no black woman feels about it. Don't care nothing about none of that. None of it. You have to be willing to take certain L's on this path. Now here my mama got this man that she actually liked. Now, I'm sitting here questioning like, okay, well what if you don't like these things, these are the core values he has, how you like him? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you like him about? Well, he funny. He good looking. Got things going for himself. And hard worker. And all those things that women claim they're looking for. And this man don't stand a chance. Because he not on his knees begging cave Jesus, and he not sitting here apologizing or being quiet as a church mouse when the caves show up. Like, come on now. But I can't wait. I want to see some of y'all's comments on this, because I know that black women believe in their minds that they are wanting these so-called pro-black men. But no, I don't see it. I don't see it in reality. I don't hear about it and I don't see it. Not saying that some women don't, but I'm saying by and large, if you a black man and you don't worship no God and you actually are, about that, and I'll say B1, 2, 3. If you really about that life, black women don't like that shit. They don't want that. They want you to cower in the face of the cave. Now, they may want you to stand up and fight another black man, fight with him, argue with him. But when it comes to the caves, no, keep your voice down. Keep your voice down. I don't want them thinking that we racist. And of course, I don't want them thinking I'm racist by proxy because I'm with you. I don't want them thinking that about me. I want them to see me as a good Negro, a trustworthy Negro, a non-problematic Negro. They don't understand that that's what they're doing. I know they're doing it. I recognize they're doing it. My mom don't recognize that's what she's doing. She doesn't recognize that, but I see it. But I want to see some of y'all's comments on this, man. And I'm not saying this is just a black woman thing for y'all get started on that fucking bullshit. We can't even have a conversation. But my mom is a black woman, and we had this conversation, and I deal with black women, and thus, you know, this pro-black shit, no. They ain't really with all that. Not saying that black men are, but black women ain't with all that, man. We as a people not with all that. And at some point, we have to deal with this. I know that, you know, I be having these conversations, and don't nobody want to deal with this shit, but we gonna have to deal with this shit at some point, man. Like, for real. Like, for real, for real. I know you want to deal with everything else but this, but we got to deal with this shit. We have to. All this cooning, all this fucking cave worshiping, and everybody wanting that person that they with to be the same way. Like, we got to deal with this shit at some point, y'all. But y'all leave y'all's comments. Let me know what y'all thinking about this. If you can understand where I'm coming from, especially when you're dealing with Christians and people who want somebody that's God-fearing. Let me know in the comment section. Y'all like, share, subscribe to the channel. Shout out Team Rob. Y'all already know what the fuck it is. Black first, second, and third. And regardless of how unpopular it is to be in this mindset, regardless of how many women I miss out on, I don't give a flying fuck. This is the path. This is the journey. I'm out.